All right, mic check there. And mic check there. Okay. Hello and welcome to the strum. Go ahead and bring down the music a bit. There we go. So, welcome to the Pathfinder Remastered for preview. Today, we're going to be looking, like I said, we're going to be seeing the changes coming, or at least a preview of the design direction that Paizo plans on implementing into the future release or re-release of the system due to the OGL issues with Wizards of the Coast and the new Orc license, etc. So, let's go ahead and just give a quick read over here. I'm not going to read every single word on this PDF. We'd be here for quite a while. So using these rules, obviously we have a Rage of Elements section here. It's meant to, this is here so that you can understand and use Rage of Elements easier, the book that just recently released. Using these rules, you can use them for your home games, between players and GMs to determine rules, if any, they like to introduce early. For widespread changes such as removing alignment, you might want to hold off until the full rules are in your hands if these plays didn't play a major factor in your game, especially if you're using champions or other classes that feature alignment heavily. We hope you look forward to the new core remaster book that drops later this year. The team. So, rules changes. Several major parts of the second edition rules have been updated in the remaster, simplifying some unnecessary complexity. You'll find some details of spells, concepts, and items in these future sections. So, we'll just go over the first one here. I'm not going to go over this whole chart here. So, attribute modifiers. Essentially, what they've done is they've removed the term ability boost and swapped it, or ability score, ability modifier, and swapped it with attributes. They felt like the term ability was confusing because your character uses abilities like spells and all that stuff. So abilities kind of, and I agree, was kind of an outdated term. So we'll see some more things like that get swapped out. So attributes is the new thing. There is no score. You do not have an attribute score. You either have a bonus of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Once you have 4, you need to apply 2 boosts, attribute boosts, to make your next attribute 5. Hello, Trevor. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I guess he's got to go. So that was GM Trevor from Roll for Intent. He hopped in here for just but a moment. Hey Randy, how you doing, buddy? So we have attributes. So we have attribute boost, attribute flaws. Essentially what we were glad to hear, Randy. Glad to hear you're doing well. So again, once you have 4, you need to boost it twice. From what I've heard, again, all rumor mill here, is that there will be a specific area on the new character sheet where next to your ability boosts, basically the way I think they're going to kind of do it is like they do with like everything else. You have like TEML, like train, expert, master, legendary. They're probably going to have a 1 you can fill in, a 2 you can fill in, a 3 you can fill in, a 4. And then to get 5, you probably fill it in twice, or there's some sort of little box under the 4 or something. There's many ways. They're adding a check mark in the future sheets. Thank you, Randy. That's why you're here. Attribute flaws, again, -1. Pretty simple. Alignment. I actually really like the direction they're going with alignment in this. I know based on my last rant, it may not seem that way. Again, I like the direction they're going with this. So, creatures no longer have alignment. They follow edicts and anathema and are sanctified to a holy or unholy cause, since both of these struggles are key to the setting of Pathfinder. See? Edicts and anathema. For guidance on how to play a character, we're emphasizing edicts and anathema more strongly. They are now a voluntary optional part of a character, which, again, the previous sentence doesn't really make sense with that, but that's okay. Deities, classes, and so forth can still introduce specifics, edicts, and anathema. Most of these are similar or identical to how what already appears in printed books. So essentially, edicts and anathema are part of, or what dictate your character's like general behaviors. Again, nothing set in stone, or it doesn't have to be set in stone. Obviously, it can change, like anything else. So I like that. And then deities have their own edicts and anathemas, which you just add to your character's edicts and anathema. So pretty interesting direction. I'm definitely a big fan of that, because it essentially allows a character to add as much flavor as they're comfortable with adding, and those that aren't very comfortable, they can just add the bare minimum and everyone's still happy at the end of the day. So holy, unholy, and sanctified. This is a major change. I think in the right direction. I like it a lot. Because those who are those who are running content that is focused and revolves around a lot of divinity, It's typically good and or like holy versus unholy-ish anyway. You know, whether it's Sarenrae versus or Sarenrae cleric versus Asmodean cleric, or Sarenrae cleric versus Urgathoan cleric, or Urgathoan cleric against Abadar cleric. It's generally a holy and unholy fight. There's not, there wouldn't be any advantages to an Urgathoan attacking a Zon-Kuthonian cleric. They wouldn't have some sort of random advantage, and they're both generally serving what most people would deem unholy gods, or deities that possess unholy tenets, edicts, and anathema. So, okay, so sanctification. We'll go ahead and get into it. Some players, notably clerics in the Pathfinder core, can choose to become sanctified. We may issue more errata, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Sanctification. Some deities sanctify their clerics and similarly devoted followers. This gives their followers the holy or unholy trait. The trait indicates a powerful devotion to altruism, helping others and battling against unholy forces like fiends and undead. The unholy trait in turn shows devotion to victimizing others, inflicting harm, and battling celestial powers. Deities that list must choose require gaining the trait, and those that list can choose give the devotee the option to choose the trait or not. You can have the holy trait, unholy trait, or neither, but cannot have both the holy and unholy traits, which makes sense. Spells and other effects can also give these traits, granting them more powerful against creatures of the opposite trait. Some spells and abilities have the sanctified trait, which means when you use the ability, you add the holy trait or unholy trait to the ability if you have that trait. I assume this will work for like harm and heal. So even if you're an Urgathoan cleric, you can still cast heal, but it would be sanctified and still, if you were to cast harm, which both sides could cast, it would still be sanctified and be, or I guess, better example, if you were a cleric of Sarenrae and you casted harm, which you're allowed to cast, it's just not part of your font, but you're allowed to cast the spell, it would still be sanctified and deal damage to an unholy enemy, like a human cleric of Zon-Kuthon, and still deal damage, that's pretty cool. They're not trying to overcomplicate it, but I get the design direction, and I'm actually okay with it. The holy trait. Effects of the holy trait are tied to powerful magic forces of benevolence and virtue. They often have stronger effects against unholy creatures. Creatures with this trait are strongly devoted to holy causes and often have weakness to holy. If a creature with weakness to holy uses a holy item or effect, it takes damage from its weakness, which is cool. I like that. And pretty much vice versa. Effects with the unholy trait are tied to powerful magic forces of cruelty and sin. They often have stronger effects on holy creatures. Creatures with this trait are strongly devoted to the unholy causes and often have weakness to holy. If a creature with weakness to holy uses an unholy item or effect, it takes damage from its weakness. Sanctified. If you are holy or unholy, your sanctified actions and spells gain the same trait, which I'm a huge fan of. Love that. Spirit damage. Here we go. So though this damage type isn't used in Rage of Element, the remaster introduces spirit damage. This will replace alignment damage. Directly affecting the spiritual essence of a creature, spirit damage can damage a target projecting its consciousness or possessing another creature, even if its target's body is elsewhere. The possessed creature isn't harmed by the blast. The damage doesn't harm creatures that have no spirit, such as constructs. Excuse me. Yeah, I am too, Randy. I think spirit damage is a great fix. You want to know why? You know what? It makes me really sad looking back on it. Is you could have actually played Dama, original Diabolic Dama with spirit damage, and it would have worked just fine. That's like, again, obviously, then is then, now is now. You can't turn back time. But I would have loved to see Diabolic Dama with LOL perhaps in the future. Maybe. Fast changes. So let's see. Alignment changes. Most extensive remaster. I actually have not read past this point. So let's see here. In most cases, making pretty quick adjustments, finally adapt. Okay, creature stat blocks, remove the alignment entry. Yeah, Celestials have the holy trait. Cleric, Champion, Herald. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Align damage. You just change this to spirit damage. There'll be a bit more time. You can just incorporate that damage on their attacks. Okay. Deity Sanctification. There's no quick change for Sanctification. If a player wants their character to be sanctified, you can follow what the story suggests should you be true for the character or their deity. For instance, it would make perfect sense for a devout cleric of Sarenrae, who has been dedicated to battling fiends and undead, to be sanctified to holy. Well, yeah, of course. However, a cleric of Caden Kaleen, who hasn't shown any strong drive to fight for a cause, might not be sanctified. Usually you can follow the player's wishes for their PCs and ask them to play the story, how their sanctification comes into play. I'm okay with that. Because again, you can play a cleric and not be super, preachy, if you will. Dedication fees. Let's see. I did read this change. Essentially, they're shortening and rewording so they don't have a bunch of repeat text, because that's one thing that over the course of books takes up a lot of space when you keep retyping stuff. So they're shortening like the dedication part of taking a dedication, so it doesn't have to be a bunch of repeat. They're just changing it into a trait. So anyway, Druid. Druids no longer have an anathema against metal. This only makes sense because of the rework to the Rage of Elements release. I would have completely been against this had I not already read through my book of Rage of the Elements. So yeah, or Rage of Elements. Is it Rage of Elements? Rage of Elements. Yeah, because metal is now an element that a kineticist can wield and all that stuff, and it's a natural thing. So metal spells are a thing, and they're on the primal list. So now druids can use and wear metal all the time. So that's cool. Wild Song is the new secret language of the druids. It's not druidic, so that's cool. Then have updated anathema, despoil natural places, consume more natural resources than required to live comfortably, and teach Wild Song to non-druids. Sustain and dismiss. Rather than having separate rules for sustain a spell and sustain an activation, sustain is now a specialty basic action, similar to like raise a shield or grab an edge. So, spells. This is the best change. I prefer the word tier. I prefer the word spell tier. But I cannot tell you how important this change is to Pathfinder. The term spell level has just been used for years and years and years and years, and so they just put it in to second edition, which I already disagreed with, and I didn't even like it in 5th edition D&D. It should have been spell tier, but the spell rank is fine. I'll use it as long as the terms are different. I cannot tell you how many people have been confused when I say, or when you're teaching them the game, especially if it's their very first tabletop role-playing game, and they use the term level, and they're like, and then spell level, and they're like, is that the same as my character level? And you're like, no, it's not. And, well, then how does it work? And I gotta go back. Yep. No, thank you for separating this, Paizo. Much appreciated. So we have school removal. Spells no longer have schools. I really look forward to seeing how they do this, because there's no abjuration, conjuration, divination, enchantment, necromancy, transmutation. However, there's still illusion, which is cool, but it's no longer considered a school. It's just a trait. So this change makes obsolete a small number of items, archetypes, and other rule elements, which will get an errata in the future. Obviously, this affects the wizard because the wizard had to choose to be a universalist or a, evoker, transmuter, etc. That's gone. And Rune Lord, yeah, right. Yeah, they have to modify Rune Lord too. So the removal of spell school is a major impact on the wizard class. They now have curriculums instead. So curriculum spells. You automatically add some of the spells to your school's curriculum to your spell book. Basically, it works the same as the schools did before, but they're just gonna be schools of concepts, or in this obviously curriculum, the school of mentalism. School of mentalism, as a scholar, you know all too well the importance of a sound mind. Thus, you attend a school like the Farseer Tower or the Stone of the Seers, taught the arts of befuddling lesser minds with figments and illusions or implanted sensations and memories. You get certain cantrips. You get dizzying colors, sleep, sure strike. I'm assuming sure strike is the new true strike. Illusory creature, stupefy, dream message, mind reading. These are all, charming push, invisibility cloak. Cool, I'm down with it. Focus spells. This is another much welcome change. The refocus that has been completely revamped. So many players would get, especially like partial magic classes like monk and champion and other one. Yeah, there were basically classes that were able to pick up lots of focus points real quick, like by level 10. We're only able to restore one focus point unless, so like, let's say they had 2 focus points. They spent 1. They could only refocus a maximum, or they spent both of them. They could only refocus a maximum of 1. And that's because this made characters like really kind of choose between, all right, well, do I take the class feat at level 12 or level blank that lets me refocus 2 at a time, or do I go with some other thing that I want to get? Well, that's gone now, kind of. Essentially, the 12th level focus feat that you'd have access to just refocuses all your focus points in 10 minutes. The only difference, well, the main difference now with refocus is you spend 10 minutes per focus point and you can regain up to your maximum. There is no more cap of how much you can regain, which is a much welcome change. So at least I think that's a much welcome change, and I know all my players, as soon as I got Rage of Elements and I saw that, and that's fair, I'd enjoy that. Dude, everyone would enjoy. Dude, imagine, and this is specifically for you, Randy, in chat here. This is hey, what's up? If you want to, you can come speak. I've invited you to speak if you want. If not, you can just listen in. Totally up to you. I have my GM friend that we powwow a lot with. Of course, the Frozen Flame. His Discord name is El Mamal, or Mama in brackets. I'm not really sure. I've never really asked him how it's pronounced. But welcome. So I mean, imagine like Kaiser, right? Because like Kaiser Bulat, this was a huge problem throughout the Age of Ashes campaign. Back me up here, Randy, where it was like, okay, well, I don't want to spend my focus points that I have and I should have access to, and I've invested getting more points so I can use them, but I can't use all of them because then I can't get back all of them the rest of the day. Kind of strange, especially because the higher level you are, the more hit points you have. And when you do need to sit down and recover, if it was a really brutal encounter, you're going to be sitting there for like 30 minutes to an hour anyway. So just give him back the focus points. I'm glad this is a change. Great change. Brava, Paizo. Brava. So new format here. So let's go ahead and I have this up here so we can agree. Let's see. Let's see how they reformatted this. So apparently, let's get one that you can see the whole thing on. Let's do Blazing Bolt. Blazing Bolt is Scorching Ray until it's reworded here. Scorching Ray. Okay, you guys should be able to see that on the right side of the screen. Okay, cool. You can. I just had to. All right, you fire a ray of heat and flame, make a spell attack roll, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's see here. The actions are on the top. That's cool. Attack, evocation. Oh, evocation's gone. Okay, fire, manipulate. Yes, that's another thing too. As you can tell, let me see if it shows you. Bad example. Let me do breathe fire. Okay, this is what's that spell called right now? Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. I don't remember the name. What's it called? Randy, help me out here. What's the gouge of flame 15-foot cone spell called right now, because they've renamed it. Oh my gosh, burning hands. Thank you. Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. All right, burning hands. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as you can see here, casting is somatic verbal. It's gone. It's not in the new one. So what they've decided to do is add manipulate trait as a way of saying this will provoke attack of opportunity. There are no more spell components. All spells are assumed to have a verbal and somatic component if they have the manipulate trait. If they only have the concentrate trait, they are assumed to only require the verbal component. You like yes, triple X, quadruple exclamation point from Randy in the chat. I assume you like that very much. Yeah, and again, it's easier. You don't have to cover these concepts because, like, I'm not going to say they rarely come up, but generally speaking, they rarely come up. If someone's casting a spell that would have manipulate anyway, indeed, my players get confused often on spell provoke, right? Yeah, again, the way it was written prior, you had to know that somatic had the manipulate trait. You no longer need to know that because the manipulate trait is just on the spell itself, which is going to be like 95% of spells anyway. Like, yeah, let's actually go up and down the list. We got manipulate. Yeah, all of these. Manipulate. Yeah, all of them have manipulate. Because generally speaking, outside of like what's the witch one? Evil Eye. Like Evil Eye is verbal only. Or is it verbal? Let's look it up. Evil Eye. But you know what I mean? There are ones where you just like look at people and shit. That's somatic. Damn it, bad example. Verbal. Trying to think of a verbal only spell. Well, there are verbal only spells. Like shield. Yeah, is shield verbal only? Yeah. So see, that would only have. Let me see if shield's in here. Maybe shield's in here. It is not. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. So shield's not in here, but you get what I mean. So it would only have the concentrate trait. So any player could go, wait, it doesn't have the manipulate trait, which means I don't get attack of opportunity if I use shield. And you're like, Yes, you do not get attack of opportunity if you use the shield spell, which again, I think actually, I think it clears things up. I think anything or any change to the game that makes it easier to understand is a good change. Paizo has a real opportunity here to make the game more easier to understand. Not that the beginner box is bad and all that kind of stuff. I love the beginner box. I've run it 7 times. With like, yeah, I've run it 7 times. It's a fantastic teaching system. But I mean, imagine when they redo the beginner box with the remastered rules, it's going to be even easier for people to understand how to play this game. I actually think that my wife is going to really enjoy playing the game with the remastered rules. And when I have to re-explain it to what will eventually be my 3rd podcast coming out later this year, which will be a live one on YouTube because I don't have time to edit. It's going to be easier to explain the game just because there's, again, anything that condenses it without, or not condenses it, but anything that makes it to where you have to look up rules less often because it just makes sense and it's kind of like common sensed, I think is great because it's really easy to get in the mindset of, well, this thing is familiar. Of course there's going to be 8 schools. There's always been 8 schools. Versus like, what if we just took away the schools? Obviously, you got to be careful. There has to be legitimate substitutes. You can't just have a nothing to substitute. As long as it has something to substitute and it makes sense. And again, if people that aren't into or that are newer to tabletop gaming can understand it, it's a great change. So I'm not going to go through all of these spells here, but let's look at Detect Magic here. Oh, I actually want to take a look at Detect Magic. 35 minutes you send out. Yeah, it's the same thing here. Send out a pulse. Arcane Vault. Yeah. Detection trait. Ooh. I'm curious. Did they define traits at the back here? Sorry, I'm jumping along here. They did not. Shame on you. Shame. I'm just kidding. We're all happy. So tells you at the higher level of spell. The detection magic on a lower rank. Detect magic. We are detected normally. More powerful. Okay. Also pinpoint. Oh no, that's the same. That's the same. It's always been that way. To my knowledge. Oh, let's see. Detect magic. Cantrip. Let's see. Yeah. No, these are the same. Yeah. No, it's been the same. So. Excuse me. No, I was wanting to know if they defined the detection trait is what I wanted to see the definition of the detection trait, but obviously they're not going to put out all that stuff yet because it's probably still being worked on right now. Okay. Outside of that, obviously great stuff. Wholly down with seeing all of these things. I think it's great. Let's see what's next. Oh, Wish is now a ritual. Pretty big change. Wish is now a ritual. To allow for more involved and evocative storytelling, the manifestation spell replaces the spells Alter Reality, Miracle, Primal Phenomenon, and Wish. Thank you. I thought that was so silly that we had the same spell for all 4 spell schools or all 4 spell traditions. Just make it into one. Thank you. And I actually like that it's a ritual. I think that's pretty great. Obviously, it's going to be very, very, very expensive to cast this spell, as it should be. Let's see. Now I don't like that. I don't like. See, okay. I hadn't read it yet. You weave the fabric of reality itself to grant the target's greatest desire. Let's take a look at Wish right now. This is okay. See, I hope this was a good change, Paizo. I'm gonna have to disagree with this one. I don't like this bend fabric of reality garbage. The great thing about second edition is that you didn't let the players do whatever they wanted or sit there and argue with the game master forever and ever on what they wanted. That was the beauty of the game. It was clearly defined. I don't like that. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like that. Not a fan. Nah, man. You just make it a ritual and make it function the same as the current wish spell. That's actually kind of disappointing. Not gonna lie. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, Randy, what's your take on it? Do you like this? The whole bend the fabric of reality and wish for whatever you want. Basically, this is old Wish. This is old Wish, and I actually liked New Wish. I liked New Wish because it didn't let you do whatever you wanted. Like, I'm okay with bending the effect of the spell. It will have the effect of a monkey's paw no matter how well you succeed the check. The wish is granted without any complication or drawback on a critical success, though. The wish is granted, but there's a drawback. Angering the rival gods, no result against partially granted, lesser degree. Yeah, fair, but it's only on critical. I mean, I guess. I mean, monkey's paw in a way, sure. But I don't know, man. I guess it would come down to how much you trust your players at the end of the day. If you don't trust your players, you're probably going to tell them not to do it anyway or not to waste their time anyway. But that's fine. Neither here nor there. We continue. Items. Most items are pretty much the same in play. New format. So let's go here. Were there claw? I don't remember claw bracers. Is this a new? It's a new item. Okay. Clawed bracers. Animal claws are woven onto the back thick leather of these bracers. Activate, extend the claws. The bracers fuse temporarily form. You gain a climb speed. Cool. I love that talismans are becoming more powerful. Thank you. Thank you. This will make my druid in my Quest for the Frozen Flame game very happy. Because he's a talisman dabbler. Talismans, to make them more powerful and straightforward, we've changed a large number of talismans. The following ones are mentioned in the Rage of Elements, and you can find these in the GM core. Mesmerizing Opal. So let's go ahead and read the Mesmerizing Opal. Okay. So, item level 2, let's read the original. On the right screen, 7 gold, fixed armor, envision, you attempt a deception of feint. When you activate outcome of your, if the outcome of your triggering deception check is a critical failure, you get a failure instead, or if the outcome is a success, you get a critical success instead. Okay. Same thing, you make an attack with the affixed weapon, but haven't, oh no, sorry. If the outcome is a success, you get a critical success instead. It's one action, concentrate. When you activate it, you attempt a deception check to feint. Okay, that makes sense that they would change this to one action because it was harder for people to remember to use a free action upon a trigger, where instead you just say, activate one action, concentrate. I actually really like that. Potency crystal has been reworked. Let's take a look. The potency crystal. It's now a item 1 plus instead of item 1. Ooh, affixed to weapon, concentrate. You make an attack with the affixed weapon but haven't rolled yet. The fluorite crystal glows, strange phosphorescence. You activate the crystal, becomes a +1. Striking weapon on the strike, and until the end of this turn, for the rest of the turn, gains a +1 item roll and 2 weapon damage dice. Okay, so same there. That's a level 1 for gold. Level 9, greater potency crystal. Weapon becomes +2 greater striking for the rest of the turn. Oh, so you can make scaling potency crystals, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That is fantastic. However, here's the issue. Well, no, actually, no. This is good. I'm sorry. I was thinking about a different order. So, no, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. That's great. All right. Shark Tooth Charm. Let's see if they have Shark Tooth. Shark Tooth Charm. Let's see here. The original. Affixed armor, bulk, nothing. Negligible. You trigger, you attempt to escape using acrobatics for your roll. You have an expert in acrobatics. Okay, let's see. So you have to be an expert in acrobatics. Dried seaweed, and you try and get away. Okay. Shark Tooth Charm. Activate one action concentrate. This dried seaweed bracelet armor charms like small shark teeth. You activate the bracelet, attempt an escape using acrobatics with a +1 item bonus to the check. If you roll a success, you get a critical success instead. If you roll a critical failure, you get a failure instead. If you fail the acrobatics check against the grabbing creature, the creature must either release you as a free action or take 2d8 piercing damage as shark's teeth momentarily emerge from your skin. But you don't have to be an expert in acrobatics anymore. Talismans shouldn't have proficiency requirements because the people that make the talismans that give them to their friends, especially if they're talisman dabblers or people that craft a bunch of these things, I mean, yes, they're gonna give them to people that it probably most likely makes the most sense for. But even if I'm a fighter, I might not be an expert in athletics because it doesn't make sense for me. Maybe I'm going with like a dexterity build. But I might like to trip from time to time, or like there's a million cases you can make for not tying talismans to proficiency for a skill. Fantastic, absolutely. I cannot wait to see more talismans like this. This will be great. This will be great. Randy, thoughts? What do you think, buddy? Are you a fan of it? Are you not a fan of it? I assume you are. Let's see what Mr. Randy's got to say. You like it. Cool. Creature abilities, change shape. Essentially, it's, let's see, the monster changes its shape indefinitely. Uses action to return to its normal state. Using change shape counts as creating a disguise for impersonating deception. Get a +4 bonus to those deception checks against deception DC. Okay. Have you read these? I've never seen people use talismans a lot in the past, so hopefully this, no, I'm telling you. The talismans are okay right now. This makes talismans dope, and I'm excited for it. Have you read through these changes, Randy? The grab, knockdown, push and stuff? It's a big change. These are big changes. So grab. You have not. Okay, so we'll put grab in here. Creature ability. We'll read the original and then we'll go back and we'll read the new change. Grab. So screen on the right here. Requirements. Creature's last action was a success with a strike that lists grab in its damage entry, or the creature has a grab using, or it has the creature grab using this action. The monster automatically grabs the target until the end of the monster's next turn. The creature is grabbed by whichever body part the monster attacked with, and that body part cannot be used to strike creatures until the grab is ended. Using grab extends the duration of the monster's grab until the end of the next turn for all creatures grabbed by it. A grabbed creature can use the escape action to get out of the grab, and the grab ends for a grabbed creatures if the monster moves away from it. So, the new one. Grab. Requirements. The monster's last action was a successful strike that lists grab in its entry, and the monster has a creature grab restraint. Effect. If used after a strike, the monster attempts to grapple the creature using the part it attacked with. This attempt neither applies nor counts towards the creature's multiple attack penalty. This means creatures can no longer automatically grab PCs. Period. Or summoned creatures cannot automatically grab either. Like players that summon creatures that can automatically grab. There is no more guaranteed grabs. All that happens, yeah, I like that. My players hate that. Depending on the fight, I actually was a big fan of it because okay, if you're fighting something that's 3 or 4, like 2 or more levels higher than you, I personally feel like it's okay for the grab to automatically go through, because if you're fighting something that's 2 or more levels higher than you, your party of players already has far more actions than the creature does. I understand from the player's perspective that having to roll against a creature that's going to have a higher DC to break out of because it's at least 2 levels higher than it can be very frustrating. I understand that, but that's a part of what makes encounters scary. If it's supposed to be a scary encounter, it should feel scary. And so I see both sides of this. I don't know. I'm probably going to end up keeping grab the way it is. Knockdown and push essentially is the same way. The creature, if it's knocking down, has to make a trip attempt. And if the creature has push, they have to make a shove attempt. Now, again, it doesn't go against their multiple attack penalty, which I understand is fair because they already have an advantage. But again, the more rolls you give to something, it can go both ways. It can be really bad. It can be really good. Because like people would say, "Oh no, that makes grab more fair." Okay, you're gonna say that until I roll like a natural 18 or a natural 19 against a squishier enemy or a squishier PC that I make a grab attempt, and then now they're restrained. Congratulations. Now you're in a worse predicament. Oh, we didn't think about that, did we? Yeah, that's gonna suck. Push, guess what? If they crit success, let's see, if push listed didn't change the distance to that distance. So yeah, like the way you could roll that is shove does not count. Yeah. So either way, in trip, guess what? You could take bludgeoning damage equal to strength modifier. Guess what? Strength modifiers of creatures are way higher than players. You're gonna like it until people are gonna like it until they start getting crit by these, and then they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, no, this is way worse. So I'm like, okay, so would you? Yeah, like +7. No, dude, it's like +7 at like level 8 or 9. So when they're like level 13, 14, that's like +9, +10 free damage. Like that's extra damage, dude. And I'm like, oh, and by the way, that was free, because like creatures at a higher level, a lot of them have improved grab, improved knockdown, improved push. So like, yeah, people are gonna like it until they start getting crit, and then they're gonna be like, because again, if you would have just been grabbed, you would have been able to do anything you wanted outside of improved hasn't changed. No, all it would do is allow them to make that check, whether it's grapple, trip, shove, for free instead. They would still need to make the change, or they'd still need to make the check, but it would just be a free action. That'd be the only difference. So again, people are going to think it's great until they get crit by these things, especially specifically grab, because being restrained is horrible. Way, 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 way worse than being grabbed, because you literally can't do anything except like recall knowledge, use verbal components, or break out. that's pretty much it. That's all you can do. And then being followed up by being swallowed, or worst case scenario, being hit again. Hello? Am I going crazy here? Like, anyway, other changes here. We move forward. Genies. Starting on the next page, you'll find a preview of the Genies entry. Genies have been redone in Rage of Elements because Python wanted to give them a more unique flavor. So a lot of them have been renamed to more elemental specific names. So the Moonsa here. 2 new Moonsahirs appear in Rage of Elements. These people take to the place of Azers and have a similar appearance. Neri, the Geniekin, formerly called Ifrit, appeared in Bestiary 2 as a creature stat block, and the Ancestors God is now a playable, versatile heritage. They have been renamed Neri since the new genies of fire are known as Ifrits. Huh. Okay, cool. Scamps. Look at that water scamp. He's so cute. Scamps take the place of elemental planes formerly known as Methods, and they have a different appearance as shown here. They perform a similar role as servants and summoned creatures. I like that. I think that's great. Give it up. Genies. Okay, so genies. From times before modern history, genies were some of the first creations of the cosmos to possess free will. Formed by elemental matter, they traverse the universe in the 6 elemental planes of earth, air, earth, fire, metal, water, and wood. Over time, the genies who remained in the elemental plane found their matter replaced with those elements. These entries include 4 types of genies. So, genie Shuyuks, or Shuyuks, typically adjusted to Shika as a genie, or Sheik for a male. Generally at least 5 levels higher than a typical example of their kind. Basic spells. Okay. A John. Let's see here. All 6 elements build each John. So these guys... Oh! And fill them with a desire to travel, typically jaunting from universe and briefly visiting elemental planes. The eldest among genie kind. Interesting. So they have all 6. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. I'm not gonna go through all of their shit here. I just kind of let's see. Jathum, possessing all the subtlety of the elegance of air itself. The Jathum of the plane of air operate within dreams, nightmares, and time. They give portents and speak to it through oracles and prophets rather than making their actual presence known. Art's gorgeous as all. Oh, this is the original art. But yeah, no, I do like the art for the John. The John's cool. Let's see here. This makes your presidents Jothun get along with Johns and Fadans. But they find Jabalis and because they're too stiff. We don't know what those are. I'm assuming those will be explained later. Let's see here. Uncommon. Oh yeah, that's so... I'm so used to seeing an alignment. I was like, oh, where's the alignment? It ain't there. So... yeah, man, that's throwing me off big time. Okay. Large elemental air genie. So I will say the nice thing about that, about not having creatures tied to alignments, is that you can literally just use them for whatever, good or evil, which is pretty cool. Unless obviously the caveat to that would be if they have the holy or unholy trait. That's pretty cool. I like that. The Chad. Holy crap. Jabali, hailing from the plane of Earth. Jabalis are proud and brazen genies. They value physical skill and love bargaining games of chance and working with metal and stone. Immense gemstones and veins of precious metals crisscross their home plane. Industrious Jabalis. Cool. They have little interest in acting with other genies, preferring to keep themselves the main source of chances with the Jabali plane. A source of tension with the Zuras of the plane of metal. Since the metal resources were stolen from the plane of Earth in ancient times, mistakes were made, dude. Cool. So, this is so funny. Like, I called this shit. This is so funny. I called this shit. Anyway, you guys will have to see in my future videos. I'm gonna be dropping next week. I'm gonna be dropping this weekend. I'm gonna be dropping a video for each element and how to use it as a player and as a GM. So look forward to that. It'll be releasing one a day, basically starting Friday or Saturday, all the way until the start of Gen Con, which would be Thursday, which is gonna be pretty dope. Hold on, it's a little loud. Yeah, I actually had a really good time writing each of those out. They're not gonna be super long videos. But again, I know people are getting, some people don't have Rage of Elements yet. And so it's a real nice way of getting people into the theme of thinking about how to use the elements as players and GMs. So the Fadane or Fadon, whatever. The Fadens of the plane of water are more powerful than any of the other genies dwelling on the elemental planes. Even stronger than Ifrits due their ability to quench their kin's flames. It's fortunate they have little desire to wield this power forcefully. Oh. Would you say they're wise? Ooh, cool. So yeah, interesting. So this is a replacement for water. Neato. The Ifrit, which is now the genie. So cool. The Ifrits are hateful and merciless from the plane of fire, where they build metropolises and massive trade centers and draw extraplanar travelers from across the universe. They are cruel tyrants, vengeful warmongers, and bringers of destruction. They do not readily treat with other genies. They share an eternal feud with the Jathums, disdain Fadanes, and only occasionally tolerate elite alliances with the Jabali. Cool. Yeah, so I guess that's it. The reveal, I guess what I'll say, one thing I don't think a lot of people noticed is that there's, this whole, it's always been like 4 elements. Well, now we have 6. So what I've done in my review is I've also tied each element to what I'll have to reword now, an attribute. Because if you think about it, they would all be tied to an attribute. 6 elements, 6 attributes. Coincidence? I think not. But you guys will have to find out which ones are tied to which when I release those videos. They'll either be released Friday or Saturday, or starting Saturday. I'm trying to think. Tomorrow I'm recording. So yeah, they'll be released. I'm sorry, I just got to get a calendar out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so they'll be released Saturday, probably around noon. And they'll probably come out each day at around noon. So look forward to that. As I look forward to releasing, and I had a great time writing this stuff. So until next time, let's see, Circbud, Arts Gorgeous. Oh, I didn't see that was someone else. Welcome. I'm so sorry. I did not. I thought it was just Randy. I just assumed it was Randy because he was the only one talking to me for a while. Welcome, and unfortunately, goodbye. We'll see you next time. Unless you guys have some questions, I guess I could here answer some questions. Does anybody have questions about the rules? I mean, Sek, you came in late. Do you have any questions about stuff I covered earlier? Or want to know my all good? I just saw you go live up on your Galarian. Enjoy your Galarian visit. Thank you very much. Like I said, I know I've been taking a long break, but I am not 100% back. Like I said, I'm still working on some stuff. Like I said, I look forward to releasing. Essentially, I think I'm going to start doing my content in bursts like this, where I do like I just create an entire video series and release like almost like basically 5 or 6 days worth of content at a time, or like 4 to 6 days worth of content at a time. So people can have like a whole block of like bite-sized lore instead of having to, you know, wait for me to make a really, really nice in-depth video. I can instead release like a lot more 4 to 5 minute videos that again, I can release boom, 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 like an entire thing. So hopefully people like that. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Would you rather every 2 to 3 weeks I did like blocks of videos, or would you rather like one video a week? I personally would, let's see. Awesome. Did I hear you say you're going to be doing some deep dives on the new, what do they call it? Themes of the Arcane Primal. No. So I'm going to be, next, or starting Saturday up until Gen Con, which is next Thursday, I will be releasing a video each day about each element and how to utilize them as a player and as a GM. So that's what the next ones, the next set of videos are going to be. And basically each element that's found in the Rage of Elements. Nothing, because like I said, it's not going to have all the items in there. Always happy to learn more. Yeah, it's not going to be discussing items and spells, because all that stuff you can find for free on Archives of Nethys and everything come August 3rd. So yeah, you don't need someone to, go over all those things, and there are plenty of other YouTubers that have done those kind of things. You guys know that I prefer to take a more lore-based approach, or like a GM approach to like, hey, what can you get out of this stuff as a player and as a GM? Like, why does it matter? Because surprisingly, the Rage of Elements actually had quite a bit of setting material in it, even though it's not a settings book. So that was actually a pretty welcome change, which is pretty cool. But it is definitely chucked full of items and spells, and like the Kineticist class is fantastic. But again, I can go on and on about that. So yeah. Let me think. Yeah, I think that's about it. But I'm definitely, let's see. Are you looking forward to the T and Shaw book? You have no idea how much. The T. I am looking so forward to it because, how I put it, I'm a huge fan of like feudal Japan stuff. And yes, Randy, lore is life, absolutely. It's gonna be so hard not to like just straight up nerd out on the Tian Xia books, and like, because I'm gonna see, because like that book is gonna be dense. It's gonna be a dense book. It's probably gonna be almost twice as thick as, like, it'll probably be as thick, or it'll probably be thicker than the Mwangi Expanse book, which is pretty damn thick. Exactly. Yeah. It's probably going to be thicker because it's a whole continent. It's not like Mwangi Expanse is a region of land on a continent. The Tian Sha is a continent, massive. Like it's going to be a huge book. It'll probably almost double the density of Mwangi Expanse, and I expect it to be expensive. Like if you're gonna give me like an 800 to 1,000 page book, I'm gonna be okay with like $100 price tag. I know people probably don't want to hear that, but I mean, it's gonna be a huge book. If they're gonna go as in depth as they did in the Mwangi Expanse with the Tian Xia book. So yeah, it's probably going to be pretty pricey. And the thing is, to be fair, they're going to need to, the books are going to be pricey. Like I know, like at first I was very upset that the GM core book and the player core book are separated. But to be fair, to hire the lawyers to make these new license, to make the new orc license, all this, that stuff ain't free. And people don't understand that like Paizo is not a huge it is a for-profit company, but they're not making bands on bands like Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro and all that stuff do. So they make very little money on their printed books. They make most of their money from digital sales. So the physical books should be pricey and will be pricey. And I think that's okay. Because, especially if it's a thicker book, that means more art, that means more contracts, to hire artists to do all that. So anyway, yeah, I'm pretty excited seeing they take the same approach in Ride Diversity as they did with the Mwangi Expanse. It's going to be some very cool content. I could not agree more. I think it's going to be phenomenal. Because even the adventure path announced for Tian Xia is going to be super cool. Like it's already different content than we've seen before. I love the idea of doing deep dives on like the Japanese like horror, like spiritual horror stuff, and like the Chinese horror stuff, like the mythical Chinese horror stuff, and the Indian like occulty stuff. I think that's fantastic. Do we know when the AP is slated to release before? So we can see it here. Let me see. Paizo Tian Xia, second edition. So let's see. Tian Xia coming 2023, 2024. So yeah, the adventure path comes out this October. So yeah, it's coming very soon. It'll be here before you know it. However, the book, like I said, they don't have a firm release date on the book. It will be a 2024 release. It'll probably be, if I had to guess, we probably won't see it until the summer. They're probably going to make it their year 5 release. Because in case you didn't know, August 3rd is when second edition came out in 2019. So it's probably going to be their August 3rd, their PaizoCon release, like Rage of Elements is for this one, because Rage of Elements is a big drop. It's a big drop. The fact that they were able to push out High Helm right before that is fantastic. But anyway, that's pretty much all I've got. Like I said, unless you guys have anything else you want to ask. Like I said, I'm in no rush. Like I said, I've just run out of things to discuss here regarding the core preview. The preview is not massive. Most over half of the preview is spells. So I like, I'm okay with the fact that they have to change the name of spells. It's fine. It's gonna be the whole thing's gonna be a change. So we're all gonna be adapting to the change together. So it is what it is. Yeah, man, this grab thing though still got me. I'm a fan and I'm not a fan, because like I said, I can see how it's like, oh, there's a chance he rolls a 3, but it's like, dude, when you're fighting something that's 2 levels or higher than you, you may have just doomed that player. But anyway, I digress. Love the Sanctified. I love the Sanctified change, and the fact that Edicts and Anathema are the replacements for alignment. I think that's a great change. At first, I was pretty against it, but how they're doing it and making it part of every character, and that you can always add more and like modify it as you go and all that, I think that's great. So either way, like I said, I look forward to releasing I look forward to releasing my Rage of Elements mini series or video series. I'm gonna have a great time with that one. Like I said, tomorrow I go into recording, and then Friday I'm spending pretty much all day because I have Friday off this week editing all 6 of those and pushing those out so that they can all release starting Saturday until the first day of Gen Con, which would be pretty sweet. Had this preview not dropped and me doing the stream on it, I would have been able to get it out about a day earlier. But I thought it was important enough to do this. I'm glad someone, I don't know who it was that called me. I forget his name. Called me on. I think it was I forget his name. But called me on Twitter. Was like, "Hey, you gonna talk about this? Kind of important." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, you're right. Let me just throw it up on a stream, and then I'll release it as a video on my YouTube channel." So, but again, I'm glad I did. Even if it pushes back the release one day, I think it'll be fine. Or you know, so if I can get it done all tomorrow, I probably have to stay up to like 3 in the morning, which I don't want to do. So, but it'll be good either way. Thanks for joining, Sek and Ralik, aka Randy, aka Dama, aka Iron von Karstein. Yeah, you too. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.